Welcome to Yin Yoga. I'm Christy. Let's take a deep breath. So today we're going to focus on this idea of holistic health, holistic well-being, just being whole, right? That we are a whole being. So mind, body, and spirit, and every part of our body is interconnected. And so if you're dealing with any kind of health issues, there's always this idea of trying to pinpoint one specific thing, a diagnosis. But really everything is interconnected. So I think even when we have a diagnosis of something, that's not necessarily the only piece of it. So just from my own personal experience with having had some health issues in the last few years, I'm recognizing more and more about stress, the stress I take on. What am I feeling? Paying attention to that. What am I eating? I'm finding, more and more, maybe it's just because I'm getting older and older, that, what I eat really makes a difference in how my body feels and how much inflammation is there. So we're just going to meditate a little bit on our whole being today and how all these pieces play a role in our, physical health, mental health, spiritual well-being. And there's this idea too that mind and body are separate, right? So, we go to a separate doctor for everything. And so we talk about mental health as separate from physical health, but they are intertwined. Again, we're just this one whole being. So what you're eating is going to affect your mental well-being. We don't know what all these chemicals are that we're putting on our bodies with things that we buy on the supermarket shelf. And we don't really think about how that affects our brain chemistry. So yeah, that needed a deep breath there to think about that. And so what's happening in our bodies, affects our brains. So if we're not sleeping well, that's definitely going to affect our mental health, our mental well-being, our mental processing, all of that stuff. And so then what's affecting our sleep, right? We don't know. It's so hard to figure out when we're not sleeping well. It's so hard to figure out, why. What can we do to change all that? And again, that can be a whole lot of different little pieces. So, if you're struggling to figure out what's going on with you, I think it's just really, I think all of these things that are happening with us comes back to wellness and taking care of ourselves as best we can. We're not going to be perfect. We're not going to eat, perfectly all the time. We're going to have the days where the junk food is just, what we need to calm the nervous system down. We need those starches and things sometimes when we're really stressed out. But so if you're struggling, you're having a lot of different issues, you don't really know what's going on, just come back to, what's the energy that you're putting into your body? What's the energy you're putting into your mind? What's the energy you're surrounded with? And what can you shift? It doesn't have to be all or nothing, but just, how can you filter in things that are better for you? Taking a moment to go outside, doing your yoga practice, eating, one vegetable you can tolerate, that kind of thing. All right, so just thinking about ourselves as a whole, as these energetic beings, and what's the energy that we're putting into our bodies, that we're surrounding ourselves with? What are we absorbing, and how does that impact us? All right, I'm gonna shut up now. So let's take a couple more breaths. I forgot my timer. As usual. So breathing. Then we want to notice, what are the things that are beneficial for us. And so we get so gung-ho, right? January, New Year's resolutions. We're gonna go out and do it all, and then that fades away because we're not able to sustain that. So also thinking about what's a sustainable small shift. So notice, how are you? How did you sleep last night? So for me, it's morning, so I can feel like I often have like this little tightness in my neck in the beginning of the day. But where have you been? What time of day is it for you? What's happened? And how has that impacted you? So trying to literally feel the energy in your body. And the more you do this, the more you practice yoga, I think the more conscious you become, or you can tap into that more easily, observing these sensations in the body. And so does it feel like the energy is flowing in your body? Does it feel like it's just kind of stagnant? Do you feel light? Do you feel heavy? Do you feel kind of restricted? Do things feel light and easy today? And then there's that mood component to our energy too. So maybe it's just exhausted, maybe it's cranky, right? As I always think it's good to acknowledge that. Angry, whatever it is you're feeling, trying to acknowledge. Because all of that is a type of energy. And then offer yourself a little bit of love and compassion, particularly if you're struggling in any way. I'm feeling like my neck and my upper back hurting here today. So a little compassion for your body if things are happening. Or compassion for your mood. So when we're angry, we can, be sort of frustrated with ourselves for being angry. But have some compassion for that if you're experiencing that. So maybe a little hug. Bringing one hand over to the opposite shoulder, and then you can just kind of hug the arm in, giving yourself a little squeeze. And if you don't like this, just let your hands come back down. So what's the energy we give towards, what's the, sort of emotional, psychological energy we give towards ourselves? We're often not that kind to ourselves. And let's just change which hand is coming over to the shoulder. Maybe give a little stretch out. There goes my phone blooping. All right. Yeah, I could get really angry towards my phone some days, right? Anything can start to irritate us. So that's usually a good indicator too. On the days when I get really angry at technology, right? It's a good sign of where my stress level is. Because when I'm calm, I don't get fazed by that much. And so if you're, beginning to feel some level of awareness of what your energy is like, okay, we're gonna let that side go. Just stretch your arms out. As we start to witness how we're feeling on a slightly deeper level. And then we want to think about, okay, what do I do to nourish that, and not to, so what am I gonna feed that? What do I need? What would help that be more balanced, be more healthy? Whether it's, your emotional energy. So a lot of times I know I just need to get outside, even if it's just for 5 minutes. I just need to get outside and take a breath of fresh air, maybe a little walk. So again, what are all these how do we balance out the energy that's happening in our bodies, in our beings, in our minds, in our spirits? And that can also be interconnection. Even just in a store, just smiling, saying hi to somebody, that can shift things for us too. Okay. Let's do a little bit of movement here. So let's come into a standing forward fold. So this is another way that we shift energy. So this interconnection of our bodies, of our minds. And so as we stretch, right, we start to release out some of this stagnant energy. And that can really shift how you're feeling physically. It can shift how you're feeling mentally. So just in a kind of a forward fold. If you need to be higher, you might bend your knees and rest your arms across your thighs. And you might move a little bit, or you might be still. Noticing how your body is. And so again, it says, how am I responding to this? Is this really helping me, or is this really, exaggerating what's already uncomfortable? Do I need to shift it? So it's as though each pose is a way of feeding our bodies, right? So is this pose gonna help? Or is this pose harming me? So again, how am I nurturing myself? How am I moving in a way that's going to nurture myself? Or does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe it's too early. I feel like that wasn't the most intelligent explanation there. All right, and then we're just going to come on down. So come down onto hands and knees. Let's round it into a cat. And so from hands and knees, and I'll let the head drop down. And so, all of this stuff about the chakras, the spine in yoga. And so all of these little energy centers along the spine. So as we're moving our spines again, we're starting to nourish all those little energy centers, getting that energy flowing. So we're just going to round into a cat and drop into a dog a few times. And so in these yin practices, right, we're really slow in the yin yoga. And some days that's exactly what I need. And other days I need more movement. So again, how are you feeding yourself? What's the energy you're feeding here in your practice? How does all this connect? So if you're really agitated, your stress is really high, coming in and being still may not be, maybe it is, but maybe it's not the best thing. So when our minds are really racing, sometimes we need to kind of match that movement physically to release out that stress. So there's a guy who does this, he calls it tremoring. And so it's a way of getting your body to shake, because in nature, when animals are stressed, they're being attacked by, so he's got this video, I think it's like a gazelle that gets attacked by a lion, but the lion doesn't kill it. And so once he's free of the lion, than the animal. Just so I think first it's as though the animal is dead, and then it begins to shake, and it just shakes off all of that stress. So I think when we're in extreme stress, that movement can really help our nervous systems. We're burning off that extreme stress. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have so many issues with stress, because we're really just taught to sit still. I'm at work, I can't run and scream, even though I want to, right? So it's our natural instinct a lot of times to run and move in a more energetic way. So again, just think about, how's this working for you today? How is being still working? All right, we're gonna come on down into a Sphinx pose. Just onto your belly, we're gonna rest on the lower arms. So one of the ways to modify this is just to simply be on your abdomen. So maybe you don't want to be on your arms, maybe you just want to be flat here. That I often find is really helpful, just this act of being on the abdomen. We're not going to do this long. If it's too much, you like being on your elbows, but it's a little much on your low back, take your feet wider, see if that helps. You can also, so at any point you feel like you want to just flatten out, feel free. If you feel like you're a little higher than is good for you, you can let your torso sink down. And I will often move my arms a bit here, wiggle around a little, kind of shift from side to side. And again, if you need a little bit of movement and you're in practice, like you like holding the poses, but being still at some points may be really difficult, you can do a little wiggling of your fingers, your wrists, bringing your feet up, wiggling your toes. So again, how is everything interconnected? Is this working for you, or do you need to change something? Feel your breath, or feel your body on the floor. What's the interconnection of what you're feeling, experiencing in this pose? So what's the interconnection of placing your body in this position and how you're starting to feel? So is it having a good impact on you physically and mentally, or is it having, maybe not quite the right impact at this moment? So we're going to come up. Yeah, we're just going to shift right into a child's pose. So hips coming back towards your heels, knees can be wide here. Head can be on the floor, or head can be on your arms. let go a little bit into the floor. Where is it tight? Can you breathe? Can you soften? And so at any point where you're experiencing, so I'm just noticing how, back's not terrible today, but there's tightness there. So thinking about how is that interconnected with what's happening in your day? The furniture you're sitting in, how much you're sitting, what your stress is. So what's the interconnection between what you're feeling and what else is happening in your life? So without blame, just with observation, with reflection. So ready to come out. And back onto our abdomens. We're going to come down, take a breath. And so notice what you're feeling as you come out of that pose. So for me, I can really feel like my hips is a little bit hard to shift there. So when we hold the poses longer, it can be a little difficult to come out of those poses, right? Like the body wants to stay there. So I think that's, true for the rest of our lives, right? That we get accustomed to whatever's going on, whether it's good for us or not good for us. We feel safe with the things that we know, that we understand, that we're used to. It doesn't mean it's healthy for us. So as we move into a flying fish, maybe just reflecting a little bit on, I know for me there's always major parts of my life where I feel like, you know, like I want to change that, but it's really hard. Or, you know, even just physical possessions that, you know, I'm really attached to. I really don't want to be attached to it, but I am. And I really don't want it anymore, but I do. Right? So it's just, I mean, you know, we have to look at these things with a sense of humor and a sense of amusement and our, you know, how we are. But maybe just reflecting as we come into this next pose about, you know, where are things stuck? What we eat too. Oh my God, I'm such a creature of habit, even when it comes to food. And I know I need to eat a wider variety. Okay, here we go. So flying fish, we're on our abdomen, so we're gonna take our right arm straight out at shoulder height. You can move this, right? Again, it's your body, you can adapt to what you need to adapt to. We're gonna take this arm out, we're gonna look in the opposite direction, and then we're gonna turn the body. So we're rolling the body onto its side, onto its right side. And that may just be a little bit, maybe you're just gonna lean a little bit, and your legs can really go almost anywhere. So you can bend your knees and let your legs stack. You might use this left hand to hold you a bit in place, or you may find you can bring that arm behind you. And I will often move my arm and my legs around a little bit as I'm here in the pose. So again, you don't have to be in the same exact spot the whole time. So sometimes I'll keep my legs straight because that gives me a nice sense of lengthening out through the hips. Sometimes I'll bring this foot on the floor. But sometimes that's too much, so I won't do it for long. Try to find your spot. And so if you're like me and you're feeling all these places in the body that are a little bit intense, right? Like things are just kind of stuck and stagnant there. Think about what parts of your life feel like maybe they're a little bit stuck. So it could just be habits, right? That we're stuck in these habits. Okay, come on out. So what's the interconnection of being in that position to then how you're feeling as you come out of that position? And then I think I'm gonna round. If you're comfortable on your abdomen, you can stay there. If you wanna come into a cat or a child's pose, you can shift and let that low back lengthen out. All right, we're gonna take it into the second side. So, just notice, do the two sides feel different? And what's your energy like now? Is there any sort of shifting in your energy? If you're able to feel that. So if you're not, that's fine. Right, so there's where we can be critical, like, oh, I can't feel that. Doesn't, it's that doesn't matter, it's fine, right? We're just witnessing, what can we absorb, what can we feel? There was no perfect, right? There is no ideal, no perfect. But there can be better, right? We can feel better. Okay, so from the belly, so that's just always my goal, right? It's just how do I feel? How do we just continue to feel relatively well, feel better if I'm not feeling great? Okay, so left arm out, shoulder height, turn your head to the right. We're gonna roll the body to the left. And then where's everything going on this side? Yeah, so I feel like maybe on this side I'm always bumping into furniture here. So you might have to shift a little bit, or maybe you're just gonna change a bit of how you're positioning the body. I'm just noticing, right? So it's feeling very tight. So sometimes that's, you can think about, okay, why is that side tighter than the other? What have I been doing? Why is that? Where's that imbalance coming from? And maybe you can figure it out, maybe not. Let's just start to contemplate ourselves as a whole being. Feeling yourself as whole, in the body, the mind, and the spirit, all part of who you are, all connected, all making up the whole of who you are.
release this side, coming out nice and easy. Take a breath. And then again, we can round into child's pose.
Whew. And then just notice, how are you feeling? What's happening? You feeling any difference in your body, or you're not feeling any difference in your body? I think for me a lot, when I start to release out this tension in the body, that then I can really feel myself more as a whole being. So I really find, and again, this is over years and years of practice of yoga, that I can really feel like the energy in my body is freed up. So we're just looking for these things. Again, what helps you feel better? All right, I'm just checking the time here. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna give you two options here. I'm gonna do a reclining hero pose, or I'm gonna attempt to do a reclining hero pose, but that is a really difficult pose for a lot of reasons. So if you're not gonna do a reclining hero pose, that's out for you. I'll show you what that is in a second. A wide leg fold, or you can prop up pillows under your arms if you want, and just lean in. So releasing this tension out of our legs, right? It's usually pretty huge and getting the energy to flow better. If you think you can do a reclining hero pose. So hero pose is when you're sitting on your shins, right? So this is a hero pose. I don't do this a lot because I find it's really difficult for most of my students. It can be hard for knees, it can be hard on ankles, it can even be hard on quads. So reclining hero, I don't usually come into it from here because that's difficult for me to come in from here, is you've still got your heels tucked under you and you're coming all the way onto your back. So some people can modify and come back onto elbows. For me, that's like super uncomfortable. So I will usually come into it from my back. And then I will tuck one foot under, and then I'll kind of lean to that side and tuck the other one under. All right, so don't try it if you're not sure that you can really be here. So really intense in the quads, hard on your low back. So if you know this isn't good for you, you're gonna sit and you're gonna do feet wide. And you're gonna fold forward. And so if you're in that forward fold, you can have props under your arms. And then we're gonna breathe. So for me, this one used to be impossible to do reclining hero. And little by little, I started to be able to get into it for shorter periods of time. So again, if you're doing this and it becomes too long, it can become long pretty quickly, even if you can get in here. Then you want to come out of the pose. And so you can come out by just like kind of shifting shifting your foot out to the side and kind of rolling and taking your feet out. But over time, it's become really helpful for me. It's something that my low back often is kind of like, oh yeah, you've got to do a reclining hero pose. But when I wasn't ready to do it, my body wasn't ready to get there, it would have definitely been more harmful than beneficial. And so it's not about having a goal of getting into the pose. It's this goal of really feeling well. And so again, thinking about yourself as a whole being. Alright, and then we're gonna release. So if you're in that wide leg fold, slowly come up. If you're in the arrow pose, so again, kind of letting your feet shift out to one side. Your legs come out slowly. So we're gonna do just like a quick reclining twist, and then we'll do Shavasana. So if you're seated, slowly make your way onto your back. And so if you're in reclining hero, you may need to be flat. So then I find a lot of times, like I want to pull my knees in here, but I find sometimes bringing my knees straight up is a little stressful on my back. So I'll kind of rotate my leg out to the side so the knee turns out, and I'll slide that foot up. And I'll maybe like bring my feet onto the floor that way. If my back's feeling a little delicate, that often works better. So just slowly making your way to a flatter back. By gently bringing your soles of your feet onto the floor. And then we'll do arms out at about shoulder height. And just if it feels okay, like if your back's not ready to move here, pause, hang out a little longer. Maybe you're not feeling the twist here. Maybe you feel the twist. Arms at shoulder height, legs dropping over. Either side will do. And then we're going to bring it back to the middle. Take a breath. And let your legs drop over to the opposite side. Yeah, so I feel better. How do you feel? Hopefully you feel better too. And so in yoga, when we start to yawn, and you may find this in other situations too, it's a sign that our nervous system is calming down. All right, and then if you're coming back to the middle, now I feel like my back is ready for me to gently pull my knees in. And if it feels okay, you can explore doing happy baby. Alright, and then trying to get comfortable for Shavasana. So I'm feeling cold, especially my piggy toes. So I am going to put a little blanket over me. And most of my students will put their socks on at the end of class. So wherever you're comfortable. I may or may not put something under my head today. All right, and then settling in, feeling your breath. Feeling yourself as whole. So not just that you're a whole being, but feeling yourself really just as complete. So even though we have all these little things that we want to tweak about ourselves, about how we're feeling, feeling that you're whole, you're complete. On some level you are perfect, just as you are. Feeling a bit of love and compassion. So feeling that you're whole is this way of feeling love and compassion for yourself. Take a deeper breath. And again, observe how you are. And what feels right here. Do you want to move your fingers and your wrists? Do you want to yawn? Stretch your arms past your head. And then maybe roll to one side. All right, if you're coming up to seated, come on up. So as you go through the rest of your day, if it's still day and not bedtime, or as you go through the rest of your week, just think about all of the things that influence how you're feeling, your well-being. So they say that 96% of what we experience, so what our being experiences, the information that we take in, 96% is below our conscious awareness. So I think some of that is, like the food that we eat, that we can't, sometimes we're going to feel how we react to that, but we can't really, right? We don't really know, how much nutrition we're really absorbing from anything that we eat, right? So again, there's these things that, we're experiencing, or it's having an effect on our bodies, but we don't really know. We can't see, we can't quantify what's really happening inside our bodies from the foods that we eat. And I think if we pay a little more attention, then we can, witness, oh yeah, that one's making me a little inflamed, or, giving me a reflux or something like that. So just see if you can pay attention to how you're feeling and what are the elements that may be impacting how you're feeling. All right, hands at the heart. And then always working on that sense of love and compassion for yourself, right? Ongoing practice. All right, hands at the heart. Nice big breath. Exhale it out. Thank you for sharing in this practice with me. Namaste.